Hello kids, it's me again, back with another video. Now this one is gonna be a little bit different. I don't have a teleprompter, I don't have a script, I'm just talking off the dome today. I know I don't usually do these type of, life update type videos on my channel because it's just not really what I do on my channel. I mean, aside from the one that I made when I moved back to Jackson literally 2 years ago. But I thought now felt like a good time to do one because I feel like talking, even though, I have an entire podcast that updates every other week, which you should be listening to. That was not just a sly way to get you to listen to the podcast, but the last 6 months of my life have been interesting to say the least. And I mean, there's not really been any big like traumatic events that have happened, but I just feel like the last 6 months, the last half of 2023, or I guess the first half of 2023 have for me been worth talking about on this channel. And before I sat down here to record today, I actually went back and watched what's it called? I literally just watched it. I don't know why I forgot. So I Moved or Whatever, that video that I made literally the day after I moved back here, and something that kind of struck me as I was watching it. And this isn't my first time watching that video since I made it. I've watched it, I think, like within the last month. I'm not really sure why. I guess I just felt like watching it. Even then, when I, watched it a couple months ago and, minutes ago, something that struck me was just how happy that I seemed in that video. It's not even, how happy I seemed. I was genuinely really happy when I made that video and just, very excited for the future. Knowing how I felt at that time, or even how I felt in the weeks leading up to that versus how I was feeling in January is just such a big difference. I'm really not meaning for this video to be like, all Deborah Downer, but this is probably what it's going to end up being, very unfortunately. Before I had gotten my first job, roughly 2 years ago, I was, living at home in my purple bedroom that I honestly miss a lot. I don't know if I miss, the fact of that I was living at home because I very much did not enjoy it while I was doing it. I miss having a colorful living space. Like the only two apartments that I've lived in have been just like drab and like white and gray and like what happened to having like a colorful living space? And I mean, that's entirely on me. I could easily just like buy some wallpaper and like cover up these walls, but the vibes were pretty immaculate in my I guess childhood bedroom. But anyways, aside from all of that, even though that era in my YouTube channel was probably my most active for myself, considering I had unlimited free time because I was unemployed. I was deeply unhappy. During that time, and I don't know if it ever came through in any of my like YouTube videos that I put out during the time. I don't think it did. I was, I guess, using it as a distraction from the fact that, first of all, there's a whole entire pandemic going on because this was, November 2020 to July 2021, roughly about that time. So, we were still thinking it was the end times during that time. And it kind of was for some people. It wasn't the end times for me, but it was definitely like that for some people. So I guess I have to acknowledge that, yeah, I made it out of the pandemic relatively unscathed, but it was still an incredibly tough time for me. I was just kind of in a place where I didn't really know where my life was going to go. I didn't know if, my entire 3.5 years I had spent in college had been worth it. I didn't know, was I just going to be stuck here in Selma, Alabama, which is not exactly the best place to be stuck in. A lot of uncertainty. And I really coped through YouTube partially and also a few other things. But eventually, as I stated in that video that I made 2 Julys ago, I ended up finding a job. And as I very proudly stated in that video, I was a videographer for about 1 year and 6 months at this nonprofit that shall remain unnamed because even though I hated working there, there's no reason for me to put them on blast. Realistically, there's really no reason for me to put them on blast. So I'm not about to even engage with that. But I was very excited to start that job. I was very excited that now, finally, after applying to I don't know how many jobs, I mean, if we go back in my Gmail folder from when I was constantly applying to jobs, at least, you know, sometimes, some weeks, like 5 different job listings every single day, like 7 days a week. I didn't take any days off from looking for a job. And to have that company, or I guess nonprofit, be one of the only ones to like actually want to hire me, you know, I was really excited. I was really excited. I was really happy to start my life finally. But 6 months into working that job, I was kind of, I don't know, in denial about how it was going. I was still thinking like, okay, it wasn't exactly my dream job, because honestly, okay, that's a lie. I was gonna say, I don't have a dream job, but I do have a dream job. I want to be like a full-time screenwriter. I want to be a working screenwriter in whatever capacity that might look like, whether it's, you know, in a writer's room or constantly working and selling and getting produced feature screenplays. That is my dream job. So I'm not gonna lie and say like I don't have a dream job. I do have a dream job. That's my dream job. But you know, it was something that I could at least tolerate for a little while. But 6 months into that, I was kind of starting to realize that I don't know how to put this. Maybe just things aren't what they seem, because I didn't really have a whole lot of expectations going into working at that place that I did. But what little expectations I had were very much not met, you know? I mean, at the end of the day, I was working somewhere full time with a job title that sounded somewhat fancy. I don't know about you guys, but videographer to me, it doesn't sound that fancy. Maybe because I know the realities of working as one, it's not that fancy, but you know, at least something that I can put on my LinkedIn and, you know, show other people that, you know, getting a film degree wasn't a useless decision. As I've been saying, 6 months in, I was like, something's gotta change. Like, it's kind of insane because 6 months into that job, I was already ready to like plot my exit, because like I figured like, okay, I've only been here 6 months. It's a little bit too early for me to like start looking for other jobs, because you know, I had known how long it had taken me to find that job, so finding another one in that same area or really anywhere else I knew was going to be just as hard. So I thought, okay, I just gotta build up my portfolio. I just gotta have, you know, build up my experience, maybe build up some connections in whatever way that I can working at an educational nonprofit. In doing that, I just kind of started writing a lot. I started writing the 2 feature-length screenplays that I finished now. I don't want to say I wrote all of them while at work, but I did write the majority of both of them while literally during working hours. I mean, hey, that was just kind of the reality of the job, that I had so much downtime because, you know, what I was doing at this place wasn't being taken seriously, but just really wasn't prioritized, to be completely honest, just not prioritized by anyone. So I had a lot of downtime to like work on something that would maybe be my ticket out. And I ended up, you know, finishing 2 screenplays. The first one I've kind of left alone. The second one I have, it's like on draft 1.5. Like, it's not a full second draft. It's mostly just, you know, a cleaning up of the first draft and adding some more stuff. I mean, writing is not what this video is about, but I don't know, I like writing, so I'm gonna talk about it. But anyways, all that to say is that 6 months after working my first job, I was feeling vastly different than I am feeling 6 months after working the job that I have now. But before I kind of get to those feelings, I guess we have to look at how I even got this job. I'll go into it a little bit more in my lessons learned from, I can't remember the titles of any of my videos. It's so weird. Lessons that I learned from working video, that it's going to be on the screen. It's going to be on the screen. You're going to be able to find it and watch it and kind of, you know, get my feelings a little bit more from there. But I was feeling deeply despondent is the only word that I can use to describe it after working at my previous job for a year and 6 months. And I don't want to feel like I'm complaining a little bit, but at the same time, why can't I complain? Like, why can't that be something I can do? Like, I know when to be grateful for things and when to complain. I want to take a little bit of time to complain now because I feel like doing so, because doing so might make me feel better. Anyways, yeah, this is my complaining time. It's just Aaron complaining for however many minutes and however many seconds. I was feeling deeply despondent at the beginning of this year in January. And I was already kind of on the road to being there in December based on things that I was doing at my job that month and those previous months. And I mean, if you don't want to like go back and watch all of that, I mean, I can kind of Spark Notes version it here, but I was not taken seriously in my job. I was made to feel like I didn't know how to do my job. I was pretty covertly, I would say, disrespected at this job. Really only by like one person. Like the rest of my coworkers were like fine. They were perfectly nice to me. They're fine people. Maybe they put up with a little bit too much. Maybe I don't put up with enough. I don't know. But it really was just like one person that is at the center of my complaints for that last job. Unfortunately, it was my supervisor. So, you know, there's a cliche out there that people don't quit jobs, they quit bosses, and boy howdy, let me tell you, I quit that boss. I quit them so hard, like, whoa. Because honestly, for a while there, I was willing to put up with a lot of, not like deep mistreatment, but just, I wouldn't even call it like mistreatment even. I would just call it being disregarded. I was willing to put up with that for a while, but you know, my final straw moment came when they made us harvest vegetables days before Christmas, which is not nowhere near my job description, like not anywhere near what I was responsible for doing in my occupation at the time. And honestly, anytime I would tell my parents about this, both my mom and my dad, they would make me feel like I'm doing too much because I don't feel like I should be literally working the fields. Like I don't know, excuse me for not liking the fact that they made me be a farmer when I'm not that, because, you know, the people that were supposed to be doing that quit because it sucked working there. I don't know the reasons why they quit. I just know that they did quit. That'll always be weird to me. The way that I was kind of disregarded whenever I would tell my parents, like, I really don't like the fact that this guy is making me work his farm. Like, what? I don't know. That was a weird moment, but we're gonna move past it. You know, after having my back was hurting, my legs were hurting, my shoulders were hurting, like everything on me was hurting, like my entire 5 days that I was back at my parents' house for Christmas last year, like the entire time. Like it was pretty persistent. In that moment, I knew just like, okay, something's gotta give. Like I gotta find something else. So I went back to, you know, slinging my resume in literally every direction. But thankfully I didn't have to do that for very long, because in early January, I got an invitation to interview at a local television station here. And I won't say which one, so mind your business. And, you know, being in like TV news was never really something that was on my radar. It was never something that I was like setting out to do, but I just really desperately needed to be out of that place and, you know, have another place to work, because I couldn't just quit. I couldn't just quit my job, because then I would be homeless essentially if I didn't have something lined up like immediately after. So that was like not on the table. And, you know, if I did that, there's also the fear that I would just be back at square one, back in, you know, my purple bedroom, spending another however many months slinging my resume in every direction before, you know, I'm scooped up by maybe another company that doesn't value my skills or think I can do my job. So that was not, I really didn't want to go back to doing that. And, you know, the fact that it felt like at the time my only two options were continue to endure this or be back at square one. I was genuinely in a tough place. Like I was crying a lot. You know, it basically dominated like every therapy session I had from honestly like November when I started up until January when I eventually, November when I started therapy, I should say, up until January when I eventually left that stupid job. Like that's how bad it was. That was the situation that we were getting at that time. So, you know, something had to give, and thankfully something did give. I got an invitation to interview for a position at a television station very quickly after I had submitted my application. And the thing that strikes me the most of when I, you know, got my job now is that it took me an astonishingly long amount of time, to me anyways. I don't know how other people have it. I'm talking about myself here, but it took me what felt like an astonishingly long amount of time to find my first job. And it took literally no time at all for me to find and, you know, actually start this job, because for my last job, I think it took me like 2 weeks. I even made a point, not 2 weeks, 2 months between applying and like actually hearing back. I made a point in my So I Moved or whatever video to say like, oh yeah, I thought this job had ghosted me, but thankfully they didn't. I mean, that was just kind of a glimpse at things to come when it came to the mismanagement of things at the company that I used to work for. So, that was really funny kind of hearing that back and remembering all of that. But I had applied for that job, or I applied for my current job, I think January, I can't remember actually, January 10th or something like that. I wrote it down somewhere, but it's not, I don't have it next to me. It's not really important. All you need to know is that there are 3 weeks almost exactly between me applying for the job that I have now and me actually getting it. Does that reek of desperation from my previous place? Probably, because knowing what I know about how things were going before I started, given that 2 people had left like pretty quickly between one another, like one person left and then like maybe a month or so later another person left, and they left because they found better opportunities, not because their workplace sucked. I have to say my first 6 months of this job that I'm working now are vastly different from the first 6 months of me working my last job, because in my last job, my first 6 months, I was like, all right, I have to find out where I'm really supposed to be. Like, not that I can't stay here, but the vibes are off a little bit. What can I say? The vibes are off a little bit at this place. I gotta really have a good next 6 months so that when I hit a year, I can hopefully hit the ground running somewhere else. And so, when I hit the 6-month mark at my current job, I was like, oh man, time sure did fly. Wow, 6 months? Gee, didn't know I was here for that long, So it really did go by like nothing, because I started January 20th and, August 20th, which I mean, technically last month, but August 20th was my 6-month mark. And I'm like, oh man, that's crazy. Because, when I had first moved here back to Jackson, which was not exactly the place that I was intending on going for my career to begin, I was like, okay, I'm going to give Jackson 2 good years. I'm going to get 2 good years, and then after those 2 years, I gotta find out where I'm gonna go next, because I can't stay here for a prolonged amount of time. Because, I mean, listen, Jackson is fine, but there's also, like, a lot going on, and I guess all big cities have their problems, but to me, sometimes it seems like Jackson just has it on a whole nother level. Like, it's a bit much. Sometimes it's a bit much. Thankfully, I wasn't here during the first, major water crisis, but during the second one, I was here, and that definitely sucked. And then in, July, having my power go out 3 times because of severe storms, for a total of maybe collectively like 2 weeks. That wasn't great. I think now I can kind of confidently say that I am in a better place than I was this time last year. Because this time last year, I mean, I can't even really remember like what was kind of going on at my job. Because what's today? It's September 10th. And I'm trying to remember like what was even going on at my job. Probably nothing. Same old, nothing. Working on the same 4 projects that never get looked at. And when they do get looked at, I get the same revisions, and then I do those revisions. And then they're like, actually, we want it done the other way. And so I do it the other way. And they're like, actually, we want it done the other way. So I just go back and forth between the same 2 edits that they want me to make, and they just never make up their mind. That was what I was dealing with. It was very infuriating. And like now, I'm given a very hands-off approach at my job. Did I say what I do? I don't think I said what I did. So basically, my job title is creative services producer, but that kind of doesn't, it doesn't really mean anything if you don't like already know what it is, or you don't already work in the news. So creative services department in news or TV stations, it's used interchangeably with marketing, which is really funny because when I graduated, I was like, I don't want to work in marketing. I want to work in films. I'm a filmmaker. But the weird thing is, like, I still consider myself to be a filmmaker, because even though my films are like 30 seconds maximum, I still have the opportunity to be really creative in my job. And I'm given a lot of creative liberties as well. Like, I am just allowed to be let loose and essentially not really do whatever, but I'm given a lot of creative freedom at this job, which is also something that I am so thankful for, because, at my last job, I did have a lot of resources, to use to my advantage, but I don't know if I was given the same free reign. And, not to say that that's necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes you gotta adhere to certain, standards I guess. But I feel like now, not only am I given more creative free reign, my supervisor, who is like the best person in the world, like honestly, no joke, if my supervisor like quit or like went somewhere else, I'm gonna find another job because I don't think I can work for anybody else. They say, you quit a supervisor, not a job. My supervisor is really making this job that I have, whereas my last one was breaking it. Not only that, but I love where I work. I love the people that I work with, and I love the people that I work for, not just my direct supervisor, but, other department heads and, our general manager at the station. We all, it's not a super big station as far as the number of staff we have, but even then, it feels like we're all very tight knit. And, at the end of the day, we are working towards the same goal, which is to tell the news and to be there for the community. And so, given that I am incredibly sentimental as a person, that really speaks to me. So, I gotta appreciate it. And also, journalists, pretty cool. Gotta admit, I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I could work in the news, given that the way that it works. I would say at most news stations and journalistic endeavors, you don't really get to pick what you actually report on. You kind of just are assigned stuff. So if I had to ever be a journalist, I'd probably be, I'm laughing because I don't know. It's not that outside of the realm of possibility for me, but I don't know if that's in the cards. I'll just say that it's not in the cards. But if I were ever to bonk myself on the head and become a journalist, I'd probably be independent because anyways, that's neither here nor there. Now I feel like not only do I actually like the place that I work and the people that I work for and the people that I work with, which isn't to say that I didn't like the people that I work with at my previous job. I did like them. It's just the person that I worked for was just not the easiest to get along with, which, listen, I come from the film world. There are a lot of like above the line type of people and like exec type of people that are genuinely not easy to work with. And like, I know this going into, this field of work, but still, it really does help when the people that you are working for are pretty easy to work with. And I've never been someone who's like been hell-bent on getting prestige or getting awards or having fancy titles or anything like that. Really, I just want somewhere where I can just be creative. And the place that I am at now really is a place where I can just be creative. But now there is, there's a not insignificant chance that maybe, sometime in the year 2024, you might be scrolling on twitter.com and you might see me holding an Emmy. It's a possibility. And like, if you didn't know this, like, yeah, if you work in local news, you can win an Emmy. Listen, to me, an Emmy is an Emmy. It's the same academy, sort of. Actually, they're slightly different academies now that I think about it, but still, the statuettes are literally the same, and an Emmy is an Emmy. If you get it for reporting on a sports story or, making the television series of the decade, it's still an Emmy. So, you might see me on twitter.com holding one of these, maybe sooner rather than later. I've talked about it a little bit on twitter.com, which you should be following me at. If you aren't, what are you doing? I've been working on like a pretty big project, which is kind of crazy that I was even able to get it in the first place, because when I had started it, I was only working there for, 4 months at that point when I had first started visualizing the project and kind of, not visualizing, conceptualizing the project. I was only working there for 4 months, and I told my supervisor, hey, here's this idea that I have. I think it would be really cool if we did this. And they were just like, okay, go ahead, do it. Go on now, go do it. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm doing this now. So since May, I've been working on essentially a documentary, a whole entire documentary. I'm in my documentarian era. Shane Dawson, watch out, because I'm about to steal your gig. It's really crazy to say because, the realities haven't really set in, but I am legitimately working on a documentary, and I'm leading the project myself. And it's so crazy. And not only am I working on a documentary, but it's gonna be on television. It's gonna be on TV, y'all. It's gonna be on TV. People are gonna watch it. They're gonna see it. They're gonna see my work, and they might learn something new. And that's crazy. That's honestly kind of bonkers to me. Now that I'm talking about it, it's starting to dawn on me, and it's kind of wild. Oh God. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Sorry. I have a lot more like actual opportunities open up to me now. And honestly, my 2-year mark hit this July 26th. I actually remember I was out in a car with a reporter, and we were talking about something, I can't even remember. And I looked down at my watch, which has the date on, and I'm like, oh, today's my 2-year anniversary of being here. And I was like, I thought about it, and I'd always told myself, like, okay, I'm gonna give Jackson 2 good years. And I mean, it's been 2 years now, and I kind of don't want to leave. Like, listen, would I rather live somewhere other than Jackson, Mississippi? Yes, I would, very much. Even if I had to move back to Alabama, I will take that over the state of Mississippi. I hate to say it, Mississippi, but you kind of suck. Like, you have some ups, but it's mostly downs, if we're being honest. So I think most people living in Mississippi will agree it's not the best place to be, unless you're like a certain type of person, but I am not that kind of person, so it's not that great for me. But anyways, yeah, I find myself like wanting to stay. Like I renewed the lease on this apartment, it wasn't in July, it was like a month prior, because when landlords say like, hey, it's coming time for you to renew your lease, and I signed the thingy and I gave it to them. I'm like, well, I'm here for another year. And honestly, I mean, unless I go through some like significant life changes, those significant life changes being finding a partner, which I'm not like actively trying to do, but for some reason, I don't know, the vibes are right. It feels like it might happen. Not for any, is my mic stand going down? Yeah, it is. Not for any particular reason, but like I just said, the vibes feel right. So who knows? It might happen. I don't know. I might just be talking out my butt. It's entirely possible. I am known to do that. Unless, I mean, even still though, like if we're talking about right now, it's September to July. I think even if I started dating someone tomorrow, which is not possible, but even if I did, and it came time for me to renew my lease here, I probably still would do it, because listen, I'm not moving into a home with somebody that I've just only been dating for like not even a whole year. What? No. Like, what? No. All that to say is that, now I'm thinking that I am gonna give Jackson like another good 2 years. So, roughly the duration of an undergrad degree, even though I did mine in 3.5 years, which is not to brag, by the way. That was completely unintentional. That was like an accident that I graduated early, like a semester early, like literally on accident. But anyways, yeah, I'm willing to do another 2 years here. And although, for the most part, I will say 2023 has been my year, Aaron's year. 2023 has been Aaron's year. Like any year, there have been ups and there have been downs. And, even though right now I'm in the middle of a pretty low down, in the grand scheme of things are going pretty well for me. And despite what I'm going through, like right now, like momentarily, things have been going astonishingly well for me this year. January started off again, like my 8-month stint in my purple bedroom, sort of uncertain, but eventually I found a better opportunity and things just kind of went from there. I've found myself being more confident these days, which is a really weird thing to say. And I can't really pinpoint the genesis of that aside from, I guess, me being in an environment where I'm actually taken seriously and I'm actually, my skills are taken seriously, and, I'm just being around people who are lifting me up instead of trying to put me in my place, so to speak. I guess that's helping out a little bit. I don't know. I have, aside from like very recently, and I'm talking like in the past couple of weeks, I have been feeling pretty good about myself and about my future. And that's honestly really great compared to where I was before I had made my So I Moved or whatever video, or, before I had started this year. Things are going pretty great for me right now, even though my face and my tone is kind of betraying that. But I do have to remember, despite things that have happened very recently, things are going pretty great. I just kind of wanted to come on camera, talk about it a little bit. I still have not been making as many videos as I would like on this channel, but I will say I have been pretty consistent with my podcast, so that's been pretty creatively fulfilling for me. I sort of started writing again. I haven't for like a while, but I sort of picked it up again. I was even writing a little bit before I started recording this video, which is good. Things are going. They're going well. So, I'm just hoping that December of this year, December When was that? 22nd? It's weird that I even know the date, but considering I like keep journals and stuff, it's not that hard to remember. I'm hoping this December 22nd will be the polar opposite of last December 22nd, you know? I mean, by then, my documentary will have been like done for like a while, actually, because it's really supposed to be done in like November. So it probably will be really different. Oh my goodness, bro. The contrast between like what this December is gonna be and what last December was, bro. Started from the bottom and now I'm gonna be there. Like, hold on, this is pretty great. Like going from picking collard greens and okay, let me not say where it was. Let me not do that. Going from picking collard greens in like a cold, damp field to this isn't official because I haven't brought it up to anybody. I just kind of kept it upstairs. But having like a watch party for my freaking documentary that I have made with these hands, that's gonna be an amazing contrast. And honestly, you know, even just thinking about the future now, instead of getting incredibly despondent and like being on the verge of tears, I'm excited. And I think that's what really matters. So despite, again, things that have happened relatively recently, whether or not I'll talk about them, not anytime soon, definitely. Maybe even not, you know, in the next few months. Probably not in 2023, maybe in 2024, who knows. I hate being vague, you know, being like that one weird cousin that you have who's always posting about being sad on Facebook so people will DM them. I'm really not trying to do that. It's just that it is not appropriate to talk about it at this juncture because, again, it is so fresh. But anyways, it's really interesting what a contrast, you know, right now has been from 6 months ago, maybe more than 6 months at this point. Let's say 7 months, 7 months ago. And I'm very happy that I am, for the most part, very happy. So I'm excited to go to work. Like, I actually want to go to work. Like, it's what... I'm gonna assume it's like after 2 o'clock. It's after 3. It's after 3 o'clock, and I'm like, man, I'm excited to go to work tomorrow. I'm excited to work on my projects. I'm excited to see all of my coworkers and see my boss because they've been out on vacation for like the last week, and I'm like, oh man, I'm directionless. What am I gonna do? You know, I'm like, I'm excited for once, you know, and previously, of course, you know, you have smaller things that you're excited for, like certain movie releases or going to see, you know, certain concerts. And I've been to a lot of baller concerts this year, I should also add. You know, I'm actually excited for the long-term future. I have more hope for it. Ooh, that sounds sad. Not to say that I didn't have hope for my future before, because that is legitimately really sad, but I have a stronger feeling of optimism for the long-term future than I did at January 1st, 2023. So, you know, I guess that's where I want to end it off. I hope you got something out of this video. I hope, you know, maybe me reflecting can help you reflect a little bit. I'm hoping you got something out of this. That's really it. That's all I have for today. I'm doing well. I really am. Even though, again, my face and my voice might be betraying this, but I am genuinely doing pretty well. Follow me on Twitter. I'm gonna keep calling it Twitter as long as the domain is Twitter. And honestly, even after that, I don't care. Follow me on Twitter. It's called Twitter. I don't care what Elon Musk says. He has 10 children that he doesn't hang out with. Why did I bring that up? That doesn't even matter. Anyways, follow me on Twitter. Read my Medium articles. I know I keep saying I'm gonna have a new one. I'm gonna actually try. I'm gonna try my darndest to actually get this new one out. So hopefully, probably not by the time this video comes out, but at some point, there's going to be a new Medium article. You can follow me on Medium, and then you'll never miss it. You'll get email notifications right to your inbox, I think. So do that. And listen to my podcast. I put out a video I put out an episode this past week, and it's on there. You can watch it. I also do clips and post them as shorts. If that's something you're into, I really like doing them. If you don't mind me, I'm gonna go... Actually, I really need to clean my kitchen. I cooked some hours ago, and it's just there like taunting me. I really need to address it. So my kitchen is in disarray. I gotta go help her out.